Hey everyone, welcome to an Over Beer review. If you can't tell from our table, our shirts, we're reviewing Captain America Civil War. If you don't know, my name is Rich.
I'm Nick.
And as per usual for our reviews, we're going to be doing spoiler-free for the first few minutes and then jump right into spoilers and spoil everything. So if you just want our thoughts, stick around for the beginning, and if you've seen it, then you can stick around for the spoiler part. If you haven't, then go see it and come back when you've seen it and don't mind us talking about spoilers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, long-awaited movie.
Yep.
Right? Anticipated, basically Captain America 3, but in a lot of ways the trailers were making it look like the Avengers 3. And it's kind of funny, like, I've been excited for this movie since it was announced it was going to be Civil War, but at the same time, I feel like I wasn't anticipating it in the way that I've anticipated some of the other Marvel movies.
Okay.
Like, it was only in the last couple of weeks that I started getting really excited when the reviews from Europe came in, and I was like, alright, this might really kick ass. And I'm not really sure why, like, I wasn't always super excited. I don't know, what about you?
I've been looking forward to it since day one. I was concerned that when the cast info was coming out, it was like, oh, this is just going to be, is it really going to be a Captain America movie? Like, what? And then when that first trailer drops, and that kind of put my mind at ease. And I was like, okay,
yeah,
this is definitely going to be Captain America.
Like, oh yeah, that looks like Winter Soldier, and that is my favorite Marvel movie. That was definitely a great moment when that trailer came out. But there was some other stuff where it was kind of like in the back of your head, you're like, are they going to have a good motivation for fighting? Are they going to, is Spider-Man's inclusion, after they were already about to start filming, they made that deal, like, is that going to make sense? How are they going to fit him in? What is Black Panther's role in this going to be? Who the hell is the villain?
Yeah, that too.
You know? And all those were questions going into it.
And also, you know, the Russo brothers, I loved the last one. It was like, how are they going to handle an ensemble this big? Because we've never seen them do quite this many characters on screen.
And the other thing is, because it also looked like the Avengers 3, you know, I like Ultron.
Okay.
I thought that was a good movie, but it's not, it's like middle of the pack MCU. So like the last time we had an Avengers movie, it wasn't a blow you away experience. And so it was like, are they kind of losing something here? And also I think what also contributed to not feeling as jazzed for this movie leading up to it was Star Wars really came in and stole a lot of the thunder, right? A lot of that like geek fuel that was fueling us with these MCU movies was like Star Wars. But Civil War is here. We have seen it.
Yep.
We've had a couple days to think about it. We were recording way earlier than we normally would.
It's a little early.
So with that said, let's move into our spoiler-free reactions to the movie.
So right off the bat, what'd you think?
This is a really good movie.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's really, you know, we'll get into, I think, some of the comparisons to another big movie that came out this year.
Okay.
Or at least I have some thoughts on that later on. But this movie it's really fun. It is a third Avengers movie, but it is also very much a third Captain America movie.
Yeah, it definitely, there's enough in there that I feel it's Captain America. Yes, it's got most of the Avengers, but it feels very much like it's Cap's story, and it's...
Not everybody agrees with that, though.
No, they don't.
I will say that. I remember, you know, just in our screening at the end, there was a woman who was like, that was not Captain America 3. And I was like, and then her friends are like, yeah, well, and she's like, it was not. Don't tell me that was an Avengers movie. And it's like, is that an issue?
Yeah.
If you really like Captain America movies, do you not like Avengers movies? Like, I don't really understand why it's an issue. But I thought the Russos did a great job. The fighting was amazing. It has strong character motivations throughout it, and we'll get into in spoilers why I was really impressed with the story overall. But yeah, I liked all the new elements. That's all I'll say for now, but I really liked all the new elements.
Yeah, I really like it. I think Winter Soldier might be a little bit ahead of this.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a tighter movie.
But there's a couple pacing issues that I have with it that I'll get into when we get into the spoilers. I think Spider-Man works really well in this. I'm really excited now, more so than before, about Homecoming.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. We'll get to that then in our,
Yeah.
our spoiler discussion. I really like Spider-Man. I like Tom Holland. I'm trying to be careful of what I say and what I don't say. So do you want to just dive into
Yeah, I
spoiler
mean,
stuff?
basically, this movie's already making a lot of money.
Yeah.
You should go see it.
We
That's
both
what we're
really
saying.
like
If
it.
you haven't seen it, go see it. Come back. There's some good stuff in the story that you probably don't want ruined. Let's move into spoilers.
So spoilers from here on out. Yeah. Whatever we dare square, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to just lead with Spider-Man because he's the thing that everybody's talking
Sure, we can.
about. He is amazing in this movie.
Mhm.
He's amazing. He's spectacular. He's astonishing. He's friendly.
He's
Neighborhood.
ultimate.
He's ultimate. He's great. He's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And we get basically 2 scenes with him plus the stinger.
Yeah.
You get the scene with Peter Parker. You get the scene with Spider-Man. It's the extended fight scene. And both of those scenes are perfect.
Yeah.
They're great. And, you know, I was worried about how would his inclusion in this movie, like, feel organic.
Mm-hmm.
It does and it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, they're just in the middle of this and Tony Stark's like, hey, I'm going to go to New York and ask,
Yeah, I know
ask this kid to come to Berlin.
Yeah, that does feel a little bit short because they mention him in Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, there's this guy who swings from something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, oh yeah, I got a friend, and it's different from when Cap's like, oh, I know a friend, and like Hawkeye comes in because you've had that set up.
Right.
This feels
yeah.
like,
Well, it's also like Alright, so in a lot of ways, it makes sense for this guy who would be obviously have Tony Stark's attention,
yeah,
would be part of the issue one way or another because he is a vigilante
Mhm.
with superpowers that is known. There's like footage of him.
yeah,
So he would have to come down in one way. Like the Sokovia Accords would somehow play into his
Sure.
life. But it's just kind of like the way that he is brought into it. Like, did Iron Man, before they went to Berlin, take him to Washington and he signed the Sokovia Accords?
yeah.
And would the government employ a 13-year-old kid? I'm not sure.
Without a
It's all-
guardian, without anybody knowing, and just kind of.
And if he wasn't then working for the government, which I don't think they would have a kid
No.
do, then technically Iron Man was breaking the rules,
Yeah.
having him there. But that's just kind of the stuff you have to go with, I guess, in a movie like this. But his fighting, his quipping,
Yeah, I mean, it was-
Empire Strikes Back joke, all of the one-liners he made.
I love the way him and Paul Rudd are handled in this movie. They're very much, these are the two normal people amongst, and they're like starstruck and, oh man, you're Captain America. You're this person. I can't believe it. Like I'm actually.
Here's your shield, Captain America. And Ant-Man shows up just before Spider-Man, I think. He comes out of that van before the scene. And his inclusion with the humor and then Spider-Man and everything that Ant-Man does in that fight, which, people are talking about Spider-Man, but Ant-Man kills it.
Yeah, oh, he's great.
I think people were really excited to see him
Mhm.
in our screening anyway. But I think after this movie, in addition to Ant-Man is the lowest grossing MCU movie.
Oh, really?
It still made like 550 million worldwide, but it is the lowest grossing one. There is no way in my mind that Ant-Man and the Wasp will be the second lowest grossing or something. It's going to be he's a much bigger character now for the smallest character. Well, he's a much bigger character now too.
That's true.
But my point was his inclusion into the movie and then Spider-Man's at that point, it injects fun into the movie at the exact right time.
And
because Tony is usually the one who does that in movies, right? But in this movie, he's very serious, and they have justification.
Sure,
for that.
yeah. I mean, there's quips and this Marvel humor before that, but once they're very much the comic relief and the humor that this movie needs, and right when it needs it.
Yeah, absolutely right when it needs it. To my point about, am I more excited for Homecoming now? Not necessarily.
Okay.
And my reasoning for that is, this movie had two, we can say now, very good directors at the helm who got their background in comedy.
Mm-hmm.
They have directed numerous episodes of two of my favorite comedy shows of all time, Community
Sure.
and Arrested Development. And I'm sure that helped a lot.
Mm.
The next movie is not being written by these people.
Sure.
The Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, it's being written by the guys who did the Vacation reboot. And Horrible Bosses 2. It's a different level of writing.
I agree. But this also...
And it's also not being directed by a guy with a comedy background.
Who is... I don't know.
The guy who did Cop Car.
That's right, yeah.
John Watts.
Who's a more than capable director. As a director, I don't know how he would handle material like this.
Yeah.
But it definitely... Any concerns I had about, how's Tom Holland gonna do? How is he as Spider-Man?
Oh yeah, he was great.
That...
He was fantastic. But I think people are like, oh my god, he's hilarious and the action's great and all that. We kind of have to wait and see. Like,
Sure.
Those two elements, what makes him instantly gripping in this movie, I feel like had a lot to do with the people who made this movie, and they're not making that movie.
Well, I could... If for some reason that isn't lining up with the humor in this or where they're going with it, I could see, like, Feige or somebody being like... Same way they did with Ant-Man, like, we gotta...
Yeah, like, all right, get me Adam McKay to
Yeah,
help
something.
rewrite the script, you know, of course.
And then all of a sudden the Russo brothers are executive producing it or something.
I've been excited for Spider-Man Homecoming since it was announced as part of this whole deal.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I'm actually more excited for that movie or if I'm still just the same excited, because in the back of my mind there are those trepidations.
Sure.
But he was awesome. We had another big new character, Black Panther.
Yeah.
Who will be getting his own solo movie soon. He played a really essential part to the movie, to a point.
Yeah.
Part of my issue that we'll get into is all of these characters play a really important role to a point, and then a lot of them I don't even know if they get like a finish to their arcs that feels so satisfying. At that certain point when Captain America and Bucky and Tony go to, you know, wherever, that bunker, we don't really see almost anyone.
They're all just kind of like...
After that airport flight, like, it's kind of it for a lot
everyone
of
else
people.
is... They're all, like, in prison and they're done and...
Yeah, but Black Panther does have a big role, at least through a lot of it.
Yeah.
I
think
actually, until the end.
Of all of them, I think he gets the most... Of all of the not Captain America and Iron Man, like, he gets the most kind of closure to his arc. Because, again, it's not an Avengers movie. You don't... It's really about them, and it's really about Cap and
it really is. Well, yeah, Tony has everything with his family too, but
yeah.
What did you think of Black Panther? And then we'll talk more about the
I like Black Panther. I want to know more, because he's like, oh yeah, we have this suit, and like I'm like, where does he have this tech? Because it's not just a suit, like it's a very high advanced.
Yeah, it's a suit lined with vibranium.
Yeah.
As is his ring. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be cool for people to... His fighting style is awesome, right? But it's going to be really cool for people to discover why some people in the theater were very excited to see Wakanda in the Stinger. Because that is like very advanced society, super technology.
See, I don't know anything about that.
All of that stuff. And that's, like, it means a lot in the Marvel Universe, and he means a lot in the Marvel Universe, and for people to discover why. The same thing with Doctor Strange, right? Like, you see the trailer, and, like, you know, Dana's like, I just don't understand what he has to do with anything and why I would want to see that movie.
Sure.
And I was like, he's a really important character in the MCU, and, like, people are going to understand that, but you don't understand it yet.
Well, I think that's sort of what, like, Guardians is, too. It's like, why do I care about this? Why is it? And then they saw it, and they're like, okay, I see where this is fitting in. And hopefully, like, you know, when the scene where I don't remember, the king, his father, Black Panther's father is on TV, and like, they said, oh, he's the king of wherever, everybody, like, freaked out, and I was like, well, this clearly isn't Black Panther.
Right.
It's not, I can't remember the actor's name. The Black Panther.
Oh, Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not him. I don't know why everybody's saying that, and now you saying, like, oh, this place plays a big, important part, now that makes more sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought Black Panther, just in the movie, I thought he had, like, people, I think, are going to be excited about him.
Mhm.
I think that Spider-Man kind of steals some of the when you walk out of the theater, I think a lot of people are thinking about Spider-Man. I think when you start thinking about the movie, then you start thinking about Black Panther.
Yeah.
But I think people are going to be excited about him. I think that movie is in a good position to succeed now, because people hopefully will want to know
Yeah,
more.
because he's got a lot of great... Him as his normal character and as Black Panther are both...
He's
I
kind
think
of like
really well
the
developed.
MCU's Batman, right? In a way now. Black suit,
Yeah.
animal, cool fighting, and his parents are murdered right in front of him. He's got the revenge motivations, but you just want to know what his code is and all that stuff. The thing is, like, I feel like a lot of people who like the Marvel movies, they like the fun characters, and he's not really fun. He's very serious.
Yeah.
And I think he's very serious in this movie because his dad dies in front of him, but I don't think he's going to get less serious.
No, and
that's fine. But, you know, hopefully that movie will have some fun in it too. Like, he's got some wacky friend or something.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be some... Because even, you know, like Winter Soldier, which is probably or even Iron Man, I don't know, a couple of those are like the darker
They
Marvel.
always have humor.
There's humor in it
Always.
somewhere.
Yeah. Alright, so that's Black Panther. We got him. So the two of them... One of the other things, before we get into story details, I wanted to talk about was the way that this movie, in my opinion, took some of the other characters that we've seen in multiple films now, or at least one other, and finally made me realize their potential in the MCU. Falcon, Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Like, you walk out of Age of Ultron and you're like, yeah, those twins, they were whatever. That's how I felt. I was just kind of like, yeah, Scarlet Witch, whatever. Quicksilver, saw him done better. And he died anyway, and they didn't even talk about him in this movie.
Yeah, that was kind
They
of...
kept talking about Sokovia and all the loss of family and stuff, and she's sitting there. She gets upset when she sees Sokovia fall, but she's not like, and my brother died.
Yeah.
They don't even address it. But, and Vision too, you know, I feel like all of them grew leaps and bounds.
Yeah, they all get really great moments, and like
and Falcon's fighting style in that first
Falcon's
scene.
good.
Yeah.
They you know, I liked Falcon because he was Winter. Yeah, he's
in Winter Soldier. He's
I
in
remember
Ultron,
liking him,
he's
but it was
in
always
Ant-Man.
like, I don't know if he, you know, we've talked about them, you know, Chris Evans eventually is going to go, Robert Downey Jr. Who's going to take up these mantles? After seeing this, I could conceivably get behind him taking up the Captain America mantle at some point. Like he feels more.
Obviously, that's something that has happened in the comics. It's right on my shirt.
Yeah, I'm saying if they were to go that route, like I would believe that more, and like he's becoming less of a lower tier Avenger and working his way up in my eyes. And then Ultron, like I liked Scarlet Witch, partially just because I like Elizabeth Olsen. Like I always think she's really good. So I was a little more on board with that, but this one like really solidified that.
Yeah, just the way she's still learning her powers, but the way she uses her powers, and that's part of what makes the big airport fight scene so cool, is how everybody used their powers and how they all use them against each other.
Yeah.
And all that. But she does some really cool things. She's really integral to the plot. I guess we can start talking about the story a little bit. But like, I was really interested to see, because in the Civil War comic, what happens is a group of superheroes, the New Warriors, they're fighting some villains. They're in over their head. They're like teenage superheroes. And I think it's the New Warriors. And basically what happens is they go into this like suburban area to fight some superheroes. Shit goes bad. There's a big explosion. A lot of people die. And like that's kind of the start of the events of Civil War. Like what leads to the Registration Act in this movie, the Sokovia Accord. And I was like, what are they going to do? What is going to cause? What is the event that's going to happen? Because the trailers were good at hiding that.
Yeah.
And having Scarlet Witch kind of be the reason that happens, I thought was real smart how they did it. With Crossbones and that whole thing. And then what I loved about the division in this movie, the way they chose the teams, was you have Iron Man. You would think that the roles would be reversed. Right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, you totally understand Captain America's motivations.
Mhm.
You totally understand Iron Man's motivations. The whole movie, I'm sitting there going, they're both kind of right.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing, like, neither one becomes the bad guy.
Mm-mm.
Where you watch Batman v Superman and you're like, I don't really know if either of you are right. And a lot of the time it's like, Batman, you know, you're my favorite character of all time, but you're kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Like, you're just hunting this guy down. It doesn't make sense for your character.
Well, and,
None
like,
of that makes sense.
You see that too in like in the big fight scene. It's like neither one, like they still are like they're doing
Yeah.
this, they're fighting each other, but clearly they're friends and they don't really want to actually hurt the other
Mhm.
one, but
Yeah,
they
there's-
just need to.
There's like that great part with Black Widow and Hawkeye.
Yeah, and they're like, we're still
We're
friends.
still friends, and he's like, depends how much you hold back your punches or whatever. And you get that feeling from all of them, and like Spider-Man's just kind of in there, like,
It's like, I'm here, like I'm helping out. I can't believe I'm with all these.
I love all the interplay between the characters. To go back to Falcon, all the stuff with Bucky
Yeah.
was great.
You gonna move your seat? No.
Yeah. Like when they're just laying back after the fight, like,
Mm.
and he's like, I hate you. like it's so good, but yeah, you really feel that, like, it just makes sense why they feel these
Mhm.
way. You see the trailers and you're like, Black Widow is on Iron Man.
Yeah, I remember
Like,
because I remember
the
I always
hell?
assumed she was on Cap's side, and then you or somebody was like,
yeah, I think it was on the show.
"Oh yeah, like she's on Team Iron Man." I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
That
it
doesn't
doesn't
make
make
sense.
You see, like, you know, Winter Soldier, and you see their dynamic in the Avengers movies, and
Mm.
you're like, why?
Why
But
would-
it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense that she also turns
Mm-hmm.
kind of against them, and then, like, it was all very satisfying, and it all makes a lot of sense. What I'm not sure does make absolute sense
Okay.
is Baron Zemo's plan.
Yeah, like I get it, and it works, but
It works because the movie lets it work.
mm-hmm.
I feel, is the issue with it. It's what kind of keeps this movie, after one viewing, we'll see after repeat,
Yeah.
a little bit initially below something like Winter Soldier for me, because so much of his plan is reliant on things that he theoretically couldn't control.
Mm-hmm.
Like, alright, so he can't control. How would he know that Tony would go there at the end?
Yeah.
And even if he could guarantee that releasing the details, there's no way that Tony wouldn't go.
Mm-hmm.
How could he then guarantee that Tony wouldn't also bring, you know, 4 other good guys, 4 of
Sure.
his team with him, who I guarantee you, if they got there, they realized Zemo was actually the bad guy, Bucky was innocent.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as Iron Man started trying to kill Bucky, regardless of that information, they would have stepped in with Captain America and tried to stop him. Like, he can't guarantee that stuff.
Yeah, but
And-
ultimately, I think it suffers from the problem that most of the Marvel movies suffer from: is a weak villain.
But I'm not sure if he was, though.
Like,
I thought he was cool. I
He
thought
was fine.
I thought he was exactly what Lex Luthor should have been in BVS.
Okay.
Scheming I think that the overall idea of his motivations of his family was killed, he was a military guy, so he has the training and then he has the revenge, and he is just a man though, so he can't just take them on. He's not going to put on some suit.
sure.
I think that the idea that he puts all these things into place to make them kill each other
Mm.
and disband them was actually really smart.
Well, no, it is, but like, just I don't know. Like, I never got, even in
He's not big. He's not Loki. He's not a scene stealer.
he's not, even like BVS. Like, I really like Jesse Eisenberg but you get that feeling of him. Like, yes, he is this mastermind, smarter than everybody, 10 steps ahead. Everything's
With Zemo? Or with
with
Eisenberg?
with Eisenberg.
See, I feel like Eisenberg... Here's my thing about just my comparison of these two movies. I think they're actually really similar in a lot of ways.
Mm.
Like, Batman's entire reason that he's going against Superman is almost exactly what the Sokovia Accords are worried
Yeah.
about too. Like, they're the parallels, and also Lex Luthor trying to set all this stuff up. is the same as
Trying to
Zemo
get them
trying to
to
set
go,
all this stuff
yeah.
up. Like, if these movies were originally supposed to open on the same day, if that had stayed, it would have been like, wow, we're watching the same movie. Except for we're not watching the same movie. This is the movie done right,
Mhm.
and BVS is the movie done wrong.
Yeah.
And I feel like the few things, I still really like Batman,
Mhm.
Batfleck, but the few other things that I liked about BVS, and they were limited. Go watch our thing. We did not like that movie. Are made even worse having seen Civil War.
Okay.
Like, I feel like this movie just does all that better.
Mm.
And even down to, like, we walked away from that movie going, Wonder Woman's kind of cool. She's promising. She didn't make any sense in the movie,
Yeah.
but she was cool. Like, this movie takes Spider-Man and Black Panther and makes them make sense in the movie.
And you're like,
and
cool,
gives them
like they
motivations.
fit, they work.
Gives Black Panther an arc.
Yeah.
It just does everything better.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the airport fight scene in this movie.
Oh my god.
And you compare how inventive every element of that fight is.
Yeah.
And all of the action and how everybody does something cool with their powers. And then you think back to the big fight against Doomsday and Batman and
It's
Superman and all
just a mess.
It's so not even on the same level.
Well, like, you know, I remember them saying something about them wanting that fight to be like the middle comic book pages, like the big,
Yeah,
you
the
know,
splash pages.
the big splash pages, and it felt like that. And you have that moment of you seeing, you know, you've seen it in the trailer too, of like all of them coming at each other, but then it does such a good job of you seeing everything individually and choreographing it and jumping from person to person and letting it all make sense, and you can easily tell what's going on. And who's-
I don't know if in the BVS fight, if I could name you just one moment of that fight right now. And I feel like there is like 10 amazing moments in the fight scene in Civil War. Like, you know, you think to when Ant-Man goes to Giant Man, or when Ant-Man goes inside an Iron Man suit, or all of this stuff.
I'm your conscience, we don't talk on.
It's so good. It's just so perfect. And then just like, God, I can't wait to see that again.
Yeah.
And all I really like the first fight with Crossbones. I really like.
See, here's my problem with that, is he feels so wasted. Like, it fits in the movie, but a villain like Crossbones, like, it feels like, well, you know, like I said before, we haven't gotten many big villains throughout the MCU. And it feels like they kind of just took one and were like, oh, cool, done, like within 10 minutes.
Yeah, no. I mean, he definitely is. But the thing when you think about Crossbones, actually does play a role in the Winter Soldier storyline.
Yeah.
And in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But in the movie, he is just like an upper agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's not somebody who could actually take on any of these people in a fight. Falcon, who is essentially just a nobody. He's a guy working at a veterans like therapy hospital, beats him in Winter Soldier. And so it's not believable that with all those Avengers there that he would even stand a chance. So it makes sense that he kind of gets away at the end of Winter Soldier, and so they've just been trying to find him, and they found him and they stop him. Like,
yeah.
it wouldn't make sense if he was a big threat in this movie. He's just a dude. Like,
So is
but he gets some metal suit,
the villain in this one. He's just a dude.
which was cool.
Yeah.
I thought. Because if this movie had, say, Baron Zemo was like, if we were walking away from this movie going, Baron Zemo is the most charismatic, iconic Marvel villain of all time, I feel like that would have been an issue with the movie. Because the point of the movie is the relationship between Cap and Bucky and Tony and his inner demons and Cap.
And that's why I'm not harping so much on the lack of a big villain, because it's about the characters and their relationship. It's not really about them fighting this bigger villain. It's about 10 movies or however many movies
It's about
worth
them
of
fighting with their beliefs.
of build up and seeing the repercussions of the things that have happened and damage and this and that. And, so that's why I'm not like super like, oh man, like he wasn't. That's a nitpick for me, because I think the movie really is about them and the characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I've been gushing, you love the airport fight, but as good as that fight was, you know, like, all right, so before I talk about it, you think about the fight scenes in the prequels, the lightsaber battles in the Star Wars prequels, they're excellently choreographed. But then you see the fight scene at the end of Force Awakens, and it feels better, even though it's not nearly as well choreographed, because there's genuine emotion and stuff there. That's how I feel about the fight scene at the end of this movie, between Bucky and Cap and Iron Man. As good as the airport fight scene is, I think that might be one of the all-time Marvel moments, the fight with them, just the three of them, because there's so much emotion.
Well, and like, for lack of a better term, like the airport scene,
awesome.
it's like it's a fun fight. Like
It's
they're still friends.
That's
They're
a
still
comic book moment.
yeah. But then at the end, it's like it's brutal. It's dark. It's mean. I mean, Tony's out for blood. Like it's.
He's just found out who killed his parents and seen them die.
Yeah.
Note on that. I was driving around last night. We were coming from downtown. We were going through these back roads, and I kept looking. Richard, I looked everywhere in the trees. I never saw a camera. Why was there a camera on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere?
That was one thing I saw. I was like,
in 1991, you can't even say it was like a drone or something.
I was like,
what the hell was that?
Where's that coming from? It's a little.
But besides that, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really is, like, absurd.
Yeah, I do remember thinking that too, and I was like, where's this footage coming from? What road are they on? Like, I guess if you want to say, Hydra was monitoring Stark, and so that's a road that I don't know.
In 1991?
I mean, I think they created Cap in the 40s. I mean, they had technology.
I would have to go back and watch it, but I think, like, at first when we're seeing them watching it, we're seeing, like, it cut to angles of, like, the car coming and this. Like, there's, like, I don't even think they're seeing it stationary. Like,
I thought it was just the one.
I know that they go
into
the actual thing happening for us to see, but I think they might have shown the car coming and turn, and it's just like, what?
I don't remember. I thought it was just that.
Maybe, I don't know.
That stationary shot.
But gotta see it again. Look for it. And even if it is, that shouldn't be in the middle of the woods.
That's
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't know. Maybe in New York, there's.
But he's seen, and it is a. The movie opens and you see Winter Soldier doing this thing, and he opens the trunk, and you're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Like, how's this gonna play into it? But it's gonna play into it. You know it. And then you see, like, later. The stuff in the trunk is helping make the other 6 Winter Soldiers, basically. And you're like, wow, that's going to be the big threat at the end. Like, wow, we haven't seen any of that fight. There's going to be fighting 6 super soldiers. That's going to be insane. And then they get there, and they're all dead. And you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What happened?
Wait a second.
And
at first I thought they were empty. When the camera goes in, I thought they looked all empty, and I was like, "Oh man, like they're out and about, like shit's gonna go down."
Yeah, and then Dean was like, "They're all dead, but you can take solace, and they all died in their sleep or whatever he says." And I was like, "What did you do? What is this?" And I was like, "Oh." And then when he's like, because he's not a bad guy. He's just he's not trying to destroy the world. He doesn't want to release these people to destroy the world. He just wants to destroy the Avengers.
He's the same person, the same mindset as the mom at the beginning who sees Tony as like, my family is dead now.
He's just the radical.
He's the one, who takes it further, and instead of just giving a picture, these are my parents, you killed them, or this is my wife and child, you killed them. I'm just gonna destroy you and take you down because I had the military background and know how to do things like that.
Yeah, and I thought that was so smart. And also, so refreshing that, it would have been cool to see them fight 6 super soldiers, but it was actually, it's really cool that we're just going to get this really personal ending, because every Marvel movie ends with, huge explosions and this and that, and this was, just character moments.
Yeah, it was a much more meaningful fight than, here's these random soldiers that now they have to fight. And how do we up the ante from our airport? Well, you don't do it with how big it is, you do it with the emotion that's put into it, which is why it works so well.
Yeah, definitely. So, they have the fight and everything, and, Captain America, I guess he wins. I
Yeah.
mean, if you want to like just like Batman won, even
Yeah.
though the fight continues. This movie, they don't become friends again to fight a bigger enemy. That's going to be the next movie.
Yeah.
So I thought we could talk a little bit about what we think the repercussions of this ending would be, and then maybe some predictions for how this led into
Mhm.
Infinity War or whatever it will end up being called.
Well, that's the one thing I'm really curious about now is next we have with Doctor Strange
Mhm.
is later this year. Next year is Guardians, Thor,
Black
Spider-Man.
And yeah, and
Or
Black
no,
Panther
Black, is
and
Black Panther? I
Spider-Man.
thought Black Panther. One of them got.
Maybe Black Panther is the year after, just before. It's the year after in March, I think, just before.
Okay, I'll pull it up just while we're talking.
But I feel like, right.
We're not gonna see the repercussions of this.
There's like
for a
4
long
or
time.
5 movies before the next Avengers movie, and none of them will deal with this.
Yeah, I mean, you might see it a little bit. I feel like probably Thor and Guardians are gonna set up Thanos
Yeah.
because
Well,
Thor is supposed to all
there's-
take place in like space and stuff, right?
Yeah, as far as we know, the entire movie is in space, not dealing with these events at all.
Well, I have a feeling they gotta know about this somehow.
Maybe.
Like if nothing else, you would think Banner would know
stuff
about
went
it.
down.
So
I don't
Doc-
know, but Banner, presumably, the way that he's getting into space is when he's in that Quinjet at the end of Ultron.
Mhm.
That's where he's headed. I don't like, and that's like months before.
Okay.
That's the presumption.
So we have Doctor Strange in November,
Yeah.
Guardians 2 in May of 2017, Spider-Man Homecoming in 2017, Thor Ragnarok in 2017. And then 2018 is Black Panther, Infinity War 1, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then 19 is Captain Marvel, Infinity War Part 2. And this has Inhumans, but now it's
That's
been
fine.
pushed till indefinite.
So yeah, literally the next time, like, all right, Bucky is in Wakanda now.
Yeah.
So could that play into it somehow? Maybe, or maybe Black Panther is going to be an origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Or it's just...
or just a totally separate story.
Mhm.
I don't think we're actually going to see anything
Until
Infinity War, which is fine. It's
Yeah.
interesting. So where does that leave us? You know, there's that scene at the end between Zemo and Martin Freeman, and Martin Freeman's like, "How does it feel to know you lost?" or whatever, and
Mhm.
he's like, "Did I?"
Yeah.
And he says like this line like, and it was like, is he saying that because he feels like he broke up the Avengers and he actually succeeded, or is he saying that because there was something else going on here? Is he saying
I
that
feel like it was because he broke
wouldn't it's possible. See, how I read that scene is, I think that scene is written that way because it can mean whatever they decide they want it to mean when they're writing the screenplay for Infinity War. It can be he just feels like he won,
Mhm.
or it can be Thanos probably would want these people not as a team,
Sure.
and somehow he was controlling him, which I think would make it even more in contrast, like exactly like BVS. Because
Yeah.
apparently, Darkseid was behind Lex Luthor.
But if the way that these Marvel movies are so like laid out to an extent, I mean, obviously, Spider-Man's in it now, things change. But if that was really the bigger goal, and they've been building the Thanos since the Avengers, since the first Avengers film in 2012. So for the last 4 years, we've been trying to. There would have been a little more of a. Yes, this is very like. You would have seen there was a bigger plot afoot.
I'm not sure. I think that in this case, I think that if they're smart,
Mm.
clearly, they do these movies right. I think at this point they've realized we can't just have one scene with this purple guy in space who's still not here for some reason,
Just
where
taking
he's
his
been
sweet
pulling the
ass time.
strings. I think that what they could theoretically have done is, we're gonna find out in Infinity War he was behind it, and that's gonna be the aha moment. Maybe it's definitely possible. The other thing that I want to say before we talk about the other things, those movies that are coming out, there's still 2 Infinity Stones that are
Yeah.
unaccounted for. So while those movies might not deal with the repercussions, they still have to pop up
Yeah.
in theory in some of those movies.
I mean, does Doctor Strange have anything to do with Infinity? I don't know.
Oh yeah, he definitely could.
Okay.
Absolutely. It could be something the Ancient One has, and then I could see Wakanda having
Yeah.
one or something.
Oh, you see
One
his
way or
ring
another,
or something,
yeah.
and there's like.
They're gonna have something to do with it, but So I was wondering why they had him say it the way he did. I think that they don't know yet. They had when they wrote like those guys started writing the movie after the same writers of this movie are doing that.
Yeah.
They might have a plan, but I think a lot of this stuff is they find really good ways to connect them, and some of the stuff was not planned. They do it in retrospect. That's what it could be.
Sure.
But, I don't. There's stuff that happens. So there's stuff that happens in the comic Civil War, and immediately, so closely after Civil War that everybody considers it part of Civil War.
Okay.
There's a big thing that happens that didn't happen in this movie. Do you know what that is?
Is it a death?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a big death.
Yeah.
That didn't happen in this movie. That I feel. Spoilers for the comics that are 10 years old now. Captain America dies.
Yeah. So the way I was heard is it
dies.
was part of Civil War. He dies at the end of the Civil War story.
He dies. There's Civil War ends. Captain America turns himself in to stop the fight.
Mm-hmm.
There's a trial that's not part of Civil War. It happens after.
Oh, okay.
And as he, at one point of the trial, as he's going up to the courthouse, he gets shot and killed.
Mm.
Do you know who kills him?
No, I don't.
So, I won't tell you who. I think they laid the foundations. They've been laying the foundations for a few movies for this to happen, and I still think it's going to happen. I think that they seed it in this movie even further, and I think it's going to happen at the end of Infinity War Part 1 still, because they're still, believe me, they've laid the foundations for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when he dies, somebody else becomes Captain America, and it's not this guy, and I think they set that up too.
Really? So
Yeah.
what are your...
What do I think's going to happen? I think Bucky's going to become Captain America.
Okay.
I think that he's frozen because he won't be in Infinity War Part 1, and in Part 2 they're going to thaw him out,
And
and they're going to say, we need you, you're the only other super soldier on the planet.
Okay.
Become Captain America. That's what I think will happen. I think that otherwise, why thaw him? Like, why do that? They thawed him to bring him back.
See, I figured they were going to kill Captain America at the end of this.
So do I.
And then
Or
you go through Infinity War Part 1 with a different Captain America, or
And then
no
you bring
Captain
him back,
America,
and then you
then
bring him back.
he comes back, for Part 2.
Yeah, that's absolutely what I thought. I thought for sure he was going to die or Bucky was going to die. It had to be one of them. For a while, I thought Tony would die because I thought this would be his swan song.
Yeah.
But then before this came out, he signed on to Spider-Man, and so it was like, well, that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, he's alive, and he's like, yeah, I can be up for a fourth one, and so it's like, okay, yeah, you're not
Yeah,
going.
none of that's happening. But then it was like, all right, well, somebody's going to die. I thought for sure somebody would die, and they didn't. Was that it wasn't an issue, but it was. And you also, seeing Howard Stark die the way he does, it was like, I don't know if I could handle, like, getting punched twice in the face by a Winter Soldier was like, oh my god.
Well, I was like, oh man, okay, he's going to pull him out and it's going to pan. Nope, that camera did not move. Like, it was on him.
Yeah. But, you know who I did wish died?
Who?
It's kind of bad to say, but I think that they should just kill War Machine.
Really?
Oh, yeah. There needs to be repercussions.
No, I think there does.
And I don't think that there's going to be. Like, there is repercussions in this movie because he gets paralyzed, and it's like, oh my, like, wow, one of them got paralyzed, and that's what wakes them all up to, like, hey, we were holding back punches, but something goes wrong, and this guy gets hurt. But I feel like in the next movie, Tony's just going to have developed some, Stark tech that lets him walk again, and he can still be in the suit.
Yeah.
He's not that important.
Well, like, I agree, he's not been a big part, but, like, that moment at the end, you really don't get much of Don Cheadle until, like, the fight until the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have that, like, interplay and that back and forth, and I was like, yeah, okay, I remember now why I like...
No, it's fun to see them together.
Having them together.
You know what? Sometimes when you're doing what they do, characters die.
Yeah, and I...
Like,
We've
he fell
gone...
from 1,000 feet. It would have been more powerful if he had just died.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't... It's not like, it's not... Sometimes, like, if Captain America were to die, I'd be like, how does the dynamic of everything work, and how are they going to deal with this, and how's this
Yeah.
going to... If he died, the wheels just keep spinning. Like, maybe
Yeah.
he should have just died.
But I feel like if he would have died, they would have given it... One, they wouldn't have shown it in the trailer. I would hope not. Because you see that shot of him holding him in the trailer, and I'm like, okay, well, that would be too
I
obvious.
don't know why they ever showed that in the first place. Like, just to show the audience that stakes are high. Like, that was... If they made one mistake in the marketing, it was ruining that.
Mhm.
Because there's the other stuff that they didn't ruin. It also would have been nice not to see Spider-Man
Yeah.
before we do.
And not
But
to
it didn't
have
ruin it at all. It was
pops of
amazing.
Giant Man and...
Right.
Because even
exactly.
Buddy Mom was like, yeah, that's not like a Lego set, and there was like a giant...
There's a Lego
man.
set, there's this. And I guess he actually is in the trailers in some parts. I guess there's shots that we just never put together of them running and you see the leg, but you just don't know it's the leg and stuff.
Yeah, I'd be curious to
did
see the
do a good
marketing
job. Yeah.
again.
Uh,
Or I think there was a TV spot that might have showed more. Because
I didn't watch those.
after that first or the second trailer, like I didn't see anything. After the Spider-Man trailer where he pops in at the end, I didn't. Watch
Yeah,
anything
I think I
for it.
talked about it maybe on the show, or maybe we were just talking about it. Like at one point, they released a TV spot that showed more of Spider-Man, and I was avoiding that, and then I was watching something else, and they're like, and in other news, you know, Spider-Man more, and like I saw an image of it was just Spider-Man grabbing Winter Soldier's arm, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
I
didn't
saw
wanna
that
see
somewhere too.
But that's all that I saw.
Oh, I saw someone posted like a meme of it or something online, and I was like, great. But
It's so much better when you actually see it and hear it, and he's
Mhm.
like, oh, you have a metal arm? Like that's, yeah, he's so cool. What else do I have? I don't know. What else? What else? Maybe?
I think the only thing that I haven't brought up is the one pacing issue that I have with the movie, and that's in the beginning. Like I feel like the beginning of the movie is very much just so you have like not the fight scene, but after the fight scene where it's just sort of like quick, you know, just trying to like quick setup, quick. Let's get this in. Let's go. Because it's like, oh, you know, they have the accord and stuff comes up, and he comes in. I can't remember the general's name, and they talk for
Thunderbolt Ross.
they talk for like a minute, and then Captain America gets called away, and like they've discussed it and they've laid enough of the foundation down to give you the idea of who's gonna side where.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the funeral, it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, okay, they've signed it, and now things are happening. Like I feel like I would have liked a little bit more in that. Like it just feels very like that's part of the movie. Just feels like quick shot setup, quick setup, quick. We got to get this going. Because I didn't feel like this movie. This movie didn't feel long to me. Like it was over, and I was like, oh wow.
Yeah,
Like
I can definitely see what you're saying. I think that'll either become more or less apparent the next time. Because I feel like so much of through that section specifically, I was, you know, we're seeing a little bit of Zemo and a little bit of what he's doing, and a little bit of outside action, and the whole time I'm like, in my head, I'm trying to piece it together.
Yeah.
And now that it's been pieced together, I feel like the pacing will become more apparent the next time when you don't have to think about, like, why is that happening?
Sure.
What's going on here? What is this? So I can definitely see that being an issue, and I'm just really excited to see it again now through the lens of knowing
where everything's
because that's kind of been the thing with, like, for me with the Marvel movies, it's the repeat viewings that show me how much I like the movie. Like, because I'm always like, you know, anytime still that I see superheroes on screen, I'm excited, I'm joyed, but it's like, how well does it hold up? Like, the first time I saw, like, even Iron Man 2, I was like, yeah, it's Iron Man, he's fighting, and then, like, the second time I saw it, I was like, this is trash. You know, so we'll see. Again, to go back to that airport fight scene, a lot of people, there's been multiple stories and stuff, people that I've heard talk about it and say how they think that this is the best fight scene the MCU has ever done, the best superhero fight scene ever. What do you think? Is it the best thing they've ever done in a movie?
I don't know. I need to rewatch Avengers because I remember like that first one like being a really cool, and that reminds me a little bit of this too, where it's like you have those great shots of like the entire scene, and then it goes into all the little things that are happening.
And we had never seen it before.
Yeah.
At that point, we'd never seen them all fight together, and now we have in a few movies. I think it might be, but I really do feel like as good as that was, and as cool as it was seeing Spider-Man in them, it really was really, really powerful. That last fight, in my opinion, was more powerful. Favorite character in the movie?
I don't know. See, I love Spider-Man in this, but I don't know if I get enough of him to be like he's my favorite character.
For people saying this is the best Spider-Man movie ever, you're overreacting. He is awesome.
Yeah.
But let's be real. He's in 2 scenes. He's not important to the plot.
Yeah.
It's not the best Spider-Man movie ever. It might be the best, your favorite already depiction of Spider-Man,
but
the way he fights.
Yeah.
But let's be for real, man. Like, Spider-Man 2 is a better movie, Spider-Man movie than this. So do you have...
I don't know. I don't really have a fit. Like, it's just, I think it's a well-done ensemble cast where I'm like, oh man, like, I really like what they did with Vision in this, and like the shots of him like in human clothes and the relationship between him and Scarlet Witch, and I really like Scarlet Witch in this a lot.
For me, it's him.
Really?
Yeah. The arc that Downey Jr. goes through in this movie, and the performance he gives, and just like the performance he gives, I think is stronger than any other.
Sure.
It's not as fun.
He's had the most real arcs and characters shifts, I think, throughout the universe.
Yeah,
than
definitely
else.
these two.
Yeah.
But
you've seen him wrestle with his demons and stuff a lot more than... And
the role that he filled so well through his 3 movies and the other 2 Avengers movies was being the fun guy. And I think, if he never showed up again, I think I'd be fine with it. That's the point they've gotten to. There are other characters that fill that void. There's Ant-Man, there's Spider-Man, there's Falcon.
But now that they've given him that point of being the darker character, the one who's sort of like... Because, I mean, even in Iron Man 3, like, he's fun, but he's still wrestling with the... out from the what happened in New York in Avengers. And so you're still seeing that, and he's, like, has that kind of darker place to it.
Yeah. I thought he was great. Alright, we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we're a little long.
Just the absolute last thing that I want to say is the one thing I thought this movie very much missed when you look at the course of the MCU was Nick Fury. Like,
yeah,
I agree.
I kept waiting.
Where
like, okay,
does he fall?
He's got to show up somewhere in this. Like, I'm missing Samuel L. Jackson in these.
I know they had 1,000 characters, but I feel like he put all of this together.
Mm-hmm.
Where would he come down on this?
Yeah.
Why is he not part of it? Will we ever find out? Is he not going to be in any of these movies anymore?
I hope he's in Infinity War at least.
I don't know. Same with Maria Hill. She could have just popped up in this.
Which one's?
The Kobe Smulders.
Oh yeah.
She works for Tony Stark now. Like, she could have played just a small... She's not essential.
I just
like seeing her pop
they
up.
had like a different assistant for Stark and like the voice of his system now or whoever he was talking to. I don't know. We were trying to figure that out. We kept trying to figure that out too. Like, he has some assistant, I think, and I'm assuming that's probably her. Like, not
her voice.
No, I mean the assistant's voice, not what's her name.
Oh, I thought that was just his new Jarvis.
I don't know. Because it sounded like it was a person. Like, it didn't sound as computerized as...
Yeah, I thought it was just the next step of his operating system.
I don't know. They don't really go into that.
No. So, anyway, this movie overall, it's really awesome.
Yeah.
I think that Winter Soldier is a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
It might be my second favorite MCU movie.
So I'd probably put it... I need to see Avengers again, but... wherever this falls with Avengers, and then Guardians is still my favorite, followed with Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Yeah. Guardians is amazing, but the story for me
I agree.
is really lacking. Russo brothers, they're the first ones to absolutely nail 2 Marvel movies. I hope James Gunn does it.
Yeah.
James Gunn's got a tall order, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was talking about this with a friend the other day. Like, Guardians is a super fun movie. And you don't worry about the story kind of not being that great because you set up the characters, you have all that.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that luxury this time. Now he's got to nail the story. Can he do it? I hope so.
Yeah.
We'll find out next year. But we'll be back with probably another probably a lot of these this summer, these full reviews.
Yeah, there's a lot of big things coming
so
out.
I'm sure we'll do more. But for those, you can stay tuned to the show, our YouTube channel.
Yep, you can find our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/overbeer. We're both on Twitter if you want to hear our thoughts on big movies, little movies, whatever else we're playing, doing. I'm on Twitter at Rich Belson.
I'm at Stonks.
Channel's on Twitter at OABeer_official, and you can email us at overbeerofficial@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/overbeer, Instagram, over_a_beer. And again, we're on YouTube, youtube.com/overbeer. A lot of links, they'll all be down here in the bottom. Pretty much everything else is linked, so if you find one of them, you'll find all of them. But that'll wrap things up for our Captain America Civil War review. So until next time, drink up.
And butter me up.